Their YouTuber's unboxing video time. So this is the third thing I pulled out of here. This is going to be a motherboard, so let's go ahead and get it open. You know, I have bought a ridiculous amount of 12th gen motherboards. We've sold a few of them off, just because, you know, I don't have enough CPUs for all of them. And can't have all of them, right? But it does make it useful to compare. For this video, we're going to unbox it, give you an overview of the features. I will have links down below eventually for a BIOS overview and maybe a macro view where we get up close and personal with this thing so you can read every little thing that's on the motherboard. And then I will also do a BIOS update, and we'll probably compare this to another B660M that I have, maybe a lower end and a higher end version. So that'd be a couple different videos. But this is Asus Prime B660m-A AC D4. So D4 DDR4 RAM, right? AC usually means that it has Wi-Fi, which this one does. You may see AX. $129. I got this off Amazon. Of course, it's going to be Windows 11 ready. For those that you don't know, it'll be TPM 2.0 right out of the box. Of course, this supports LGA 1700, and if you do the download, you'll get Aura Sync to control RGB. It is actually sealed. Look at that. Thank you, Asus, for actually sealing my motherboard. There's that information there. The actual serial number. Alright, so let's get the stuff we don't care about as much out first. Now, the antenna, very light. This one actually looks like it'll stand up better from what I saw. I'm going to leave it in the box, or in the packaging. That does not feel like it has a magnet in it. SATA cables. So you get two of those. Now we should have a manual in here somewhere. My favorite part is going over features of the motherboard, but I/O shield, folks. You know I hate these things, right? I have them built in. Standoffs and M.2s. You've got two of those in there. Looks like rubber dampening pad. So this motherboard must only have two M.2s. Driver disk. Always get your drivers off of the website, folks, unless you buy this the very first week it comes out. You'll find you'll have better drivers. Now, like I said, I will do a BIOS update video, and maybe on my other channel I'll talk about where you go to figure out CPU compatibility and memory compatibility, because right now this thing will support all 12th gen. The i9 12900KS may require a BIOS update, and 13th gen is right around the corner, so you can figure that you will need a BIOS update there. Alright, this is kind of the important thing. I will go over this. I may miss a few things, but just let you guys see this real quick. You may have to pause your screen. I'm trying not to take up a ton of time. So, pretty nice manual, brought to you by Asus. And then here is the rear panels. We'll talk about those. And then one more page. All right, let's get this thing open. All right. So I've actually bought quite a few motherboards on eBay recently, and we have had quite a few problems with them. Whether they've been dead on arrival or RAM slots don't work. People, you know, saying, "Oh yeah, this is new," and they never even tested it out. It was an Amazon return. There was a reason it was returned. So I'm glad I'm buying a brand new one here. All right, folks. Let's look at this, starting with the CPU. Of course, LGA 1700. Eventually, this will support LGA 1800, which will be 13th gen. So for right now, just 12th gen. You may notice if you go check out the BIOS's revisions on there that they are setting up for next generation. So there may be a BIOS version in there. Now, of course, we got our power stages, VRMs here. One heatsink on here. And I believe the next closest competitor to this, the Gigabyte, does not have that. Hence why I like this one over it. There's a Gigabyte, let's see, B660M-DS3H that is $199. That has I think it's AX, but it has Wi-Fi. Very comparative to this. This has some features I like over it though. If I remember correctly, the fact it does have a heatsink, it may have more power stages, and all of these expansion slots, which we'll get into. Over here, folks, 4 RAM slots, okay? And I must tell you, as you're doing, if you're new to this, try to start with this RAM slot, the light gray one. If you have a pair of RAM later on, like matching RAM, after you get your computer up and running, put those 2 sticks in here, A2, B2, all right? This is what the manufacturer recommends. You can see it on the motherboard here. If for whatever reason you don't, it doesn't work, and I'm trying to remember if this is Asus, so I do not believe this has a easy debug on it. Some of the other motherboards might light up, or do light up, but this one does not appear to have that. So if you get it to boot, or excuse me, it starts up but it won't boot to BIOS. You may have a bad RAM slot, you never know. So moving your RAM around to one of the other ones. I just went through this on another motherboard. So 24-pin power connector over here. This is going to come from your PSU. This powers up the motherboard. And we have over here, oddly, USB 3.0 header. Now usually these guys are closer to the edge, so that is a little odd. There is a second one, right? Nope, sorry. That is not, there's the second one. So it does have 2 of those, which is good, right? So why would I need that, folks? Well, if you have a case that has 4 USB 3.0s on it, you're going to need 2 of these, right? Additionally, this has USB 2.0. So another thing it has, 2 USB Type-C Charlies. I kid you not, this motherboard, as far as those features go, is the best motherboard I have yet to see. And I bought some rather expensive ones for the channel. I am really impressed. This is a great one for connecting to various types of cases, all right? So rest assured that part is good. Of course, going back to the CPU, this is really meant for lock CPUs, right? The ones that aren't going to get too ridiculously hot. Not to say putting an i9 12900 in here and up in the power limits won't get rather warm, but this really isn't meant for the unlocked CPUs. Now, could I put that in there? Of course. Is it going to run as good as it might in a Z690? No, it's not. It doesn't have the potential to have the performance that you're going to get there. So, always best buying a Z690, folks, for those type CPUs. All right. Talked about that. Over here, we've got addressable RGB and RGB. I'm jumping around, but RAM speed wise, folks, the box says 5333 megahertz appears to be the highest speed. Of course, with BIOS revisions, that may change. If you go in and check the memory compatibility, that's where you're going to find the most up-to-date numbers on what the fastest RAM this can handle is. TPM over here, 2 sets of SATA. Okay, so you have 4 total right there. and then 2 more here. So this actually has 6. A lot of the motherboards I have don't have that many. Z690s, there are at least a couple here at the house that have 8 SATA connectors. So down here we have our front panel connectors. This is where you're going to find, and this will be easier to see on the macro video, but this is where you see all these front panel connectors. So if you look close enough, you'll see power switch, HDD LED, power LEDs, and the reset switch. And then the speaker, that PC speaker, will be up over in this area. M.2. So this is a Gen 4, and then there's another Gen 4 here. Now, what are you giving up on this motherboard versus some of the others? You might have been able to get a third M.2 in here instead of having all these expansion slots. However, folks, if you guys are familiar, you can potentially get 3 more M.2s in here, depending on where you put your graphics card. If you put a massive graphics card in here, you could fit 1 more in on here through a PCIe card, right? If you were just going to go with integrated graphics, you could probably add 4 more M.2s. Now, I've never tested that. If there's limitations, I apologize, but I don't even think I have 4 PCI expansion cards to try out. I've got at least 2 or 3. Maybe one day I might do that just to see how many drives I can hook up to one of these without using the SATA, right? You could get a device that will allow you to do M.2 SATA through USB 3.0. Alright, so RGB up here, ARGB. We already talked about this stuff. LPT here, COM, the stuff I never use. And then we have HD audio right here, okay? That comes from your case. Now, on our expansion cards, or expansion slots, usually they'll give you a 4.0 here, and this bottom one will be a 4.0. From what I'm reading on the motherboard, folks, this is the only 4.0, whoops, the hardened one, the armor-coated, armor-plated, and the rest of them are Gen 3, all right? So for a lot of you, it won't matter. Those of you that upgraded to RTX 3000 and maybe 4000 in the future, that will matter. Of course, we already talked about the M.2 under here. Heatsink covering this, so you'll undo these 2 screws to get at it. And there's usually a thin film between that. You'll want to remove that. And then your M.2 is pretty much going to stick to it. Not really impressed with this M.2, folks. Anybody knows anything about cooling and heat transfer, this one does have that much surface area, right? If you put heat fins on this, that would increase the surface area as well as the cooling, but it's better than nothing, right? So not a whole lot of case fans on here. There was one here that I need to note, and a second one here, right? That looks to be all, folks. 2 case fans. Rotate here. CPU fan is this one, and this is an optional. And then over here, a 1x8. So you will see in some of the B660s that you may be able to get a 2 1x8s or a 1x8 and then a 1x4. Does that really make much of a difference? You know, check out my video, folks, on the Z690 where I had 2 1x8s, and what difference did that actually make? Okay, I won't spoil that. We'll have a link down below so you can check that video out. I think it's kind of worth the time, to be honest with you. It surprised me. Alright, so here we are looking at our I/O area, and of course there would be an I/O shield which you would put in the case first before you assemble your motherboard into it. You have, if you're using integrated graphics, right, because otherwise these won't work, and integrated means that your CPU does not have an F on it, right? So i9-12900, you could use these. i9-12900F, these will not work, all right? So we have DisplayPort, HDMI, and it looks like a second HDMI. 4 USB 2.0s, which kind of sucks in my opinion. But like I said, the headers that are on here, you could get a really nice case with this. It's got good connections on it. PS2, I always ask myself why, but there are people that will say in the comments, hey, I still use those. So now this is a USB 3.2, looks like Gen 2 Ethernet. I'm pretty sure this is a 2.5. Let me check real quick. Sorry, this is only 1 gig. Wi-Fi, what kind of Wi-Fi is that, folks? So it doesn't tell you anything in the guide about the Wi-Fi. Like I said, these are Gen 2. I just double checked that. So over here we have microphone, line out or headphone, and then line in. All right. Now, like I said, please check out the other videos that I'll have for this. And thanks for checking out this video. Please like, please subscribe. Thank you.